Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Cash Talk. I am joined today by the lovely Jane, where we're going to be unpacking simple strategies to help people achieve financial freedom. And so this is something that's close to me. We try and create simple strategies, not complex ones, so that people can stay accountable to them and achieve their financial freedom in a easier manner than they maybe initially think. How are you, Jane?
I'm well, thanks, John. How are you?
Yeah, not bad at all. As we are in February, unfortunately,
February.
the last month of summer, trying to still lap up as much of the sun as possible. But no, going good. Nice and refreshed from the holiday break.
Yeah. So diving straight into it, simple
hmm
strategies. As humans,
hmm
we do have a
hmm
tendency to overcomplicate things because we think
hmm
successful strategies need to be highly complex when in fact principles are quite straightforward. So do you want to tell us about how you work with your clients on this?
Yeah, so I think you've hit the nail on the head. Like most people, when they come to see me at the first time, they sometimes thinking that we're going to come up with these really complex strategies that they've never heard about before, and we're going to open up Pandora's box and kind of just open up all of this. Like, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to create simple strategies, and the reality is of it, we know that if we're creating simple strategies, that people are going to be most likely to stay committed to them. Okay, and I like to use kind of analogies and metaphors, but if you kind of put it to you this way, it's like a crash diet. Yeah, you can have a diet that's like really hard to maintain. You might be on it for 2 or 3 months, look really good for summer, and then it comes crashing down. And then by wintertime, you can't even fit into the clothes that you fit in summer. So, I'm sure everyone can kind of think about resonate with that, or you kind of slowly and steadily improve. And this is where the simple strategies come from. It's really working like with their financial literacy, trying to create simple and sometimes boring strategies, let's be honest, to get to where we need to get to. And I think it's just this whole like, oh, maybe I'm not making money or getting where I'm getting to get to because I'm not doing complex strategies. No, it's usually a lot of other factors that are involved in regards to, we've spoken about in previous episodes around money mindset, not having the right roadmap. It's a combination of all of these put together. And I actually think that, as I call them, those sexy kind of get rich quick scheme kind of strategies. Well, in most cases, if not all cases, they end up in really bad situations, and it's the crash diet of undoing all of the great work that you've done. So, we want our clients to stay committed. Incremental changes, we'd rather 1% better every day. That compounding effect is just huge over time, rather than just trying to throw them in the deep end and everything comes crashing down.
And I know a lot of people before they come to you, they try and do it a bit by themselves, but there's so much information out there that it gets really overwhelming. They're trying to choose strategies. I know there's a lot of different strategies at the moment that are very on trend. And really it's about, just getting a plan and sticking with it because it's a slow burn. And it's, ultimately it's elegantly simple, but it's a time. You talk about the time in the market. And you touched on it earlier, the effects over the long term compound year on year. So the two magical elements of investment are
time in the market. Okay, not timing the market.
Yeah.
That's definitely one of them. And I think the other one as well too is just don't chase shiny objects. Okay, so the biggest thing is as well too is that we as humans like excitement. Okay, so excitement is what is linked to happiness. Okay, if you don't know that, go have a look at it. And if you think about when you're bored, people that are bored usually don't have smiles on their faces. Okay, it's the ones that are excited that are quite happy. So it's only natural for us to chase that those FOMO orientated trend things because we're excited. Unfortunately, when we're excited, it kind of usually is followed by crashing, major crashes, and we've seen it over time. So we need to be very conscious of that. I think the biggest one when it comes to growing wealth and having simple strategies, you've got to boil it down to what you can actually control and what you can actually change, and focus on those first. So we really talk around, cash flow being the core. So we want to create simple strategies about, what's going in, what's going out. Like these aren't the buzzwords that, everyone wants to kind of hear. We're talking about literally what's going in and what's going out, creating a system that is easy for you to maintain. We're not talking about, taking you from where you are now to living on bread and baked bean cans, and that's it. No, it's about accommodating to your life and your lifestyle requirements so that you don't feel you're on a crash diet. I've seen a dietitian before, and it's not, definitely not go from where you are to crash diet. It's incrementally getting better over time. Same with your finances. And I think the other one as well too is that there then becomes like these two levers, as I call them. One is a debt lever. Okay, so how much debt do we want to destroy, and how quickly we want to destroy that with that surplus cash flow we've just created? And then obviously how much we want to put towards investments. And this is the stuff that we talk about sometimes, creating simple strategies even on investments. Is we're not necessarily talking about having a whiz-bang investment portfolio with 50 different holdings and 20,000 different underlying investments. Like, no, we're literally talking about keeping it simple. Okay, and you've probably heard this in many facets before. Keeping it simple is the way to do things, and really around some boring stuff that maybe people think about. Making sure you stick to the plan and strategic asset allocation, rebalancing as well too, making sure that you've got a predetermined plan and sticking to that, and try to automate your investments as much as possible so that you remove the emotion out of investing and that you're applying investments based on logic. Okay, so those kind of simple strategies are mainly around, for accumulation anyway, around a sustained surplus in cash flow, destroying debts, and then automating your investments to a predetermined plan. Okay. Now, on the back of that, we also need to cover our backside. So, managing risks is very important. So, once again, you can deploy some simple strategies to help you manage your risk. A lot of people think straight away, oh, is he talking about just personal protection, insurance? Yes, that's one of them. But there's things like longevity risk, making sure you're tackling that. Longevity risk is the risk that your money will not outlive you. Okay, so your money will run out before you pass away, and it's a serious one for people who don't plan early enough. I did one yesterday, for example. Unfortunately, they were running out of money into their late 70s. Okay, and this was a mid-30s couple. Okay, so they were just spending so much today that like down the track was just getting attacked. So we could put some simple strategies in there, work with some cash flow, work with some bits and pieces. And, we were able to have the money literally outlive them. Okay. But that's one. There's things like timing risk, diversification risk. When you're talking about investments, there's sector risk, concentration risk. So when we're talking about, for example, like the Australian stock market, okay, to put it in perspective, there's, let's say, out of the top 200 stocks in Australia, okay, the top 10 holdings in that top 200 are worth more than the 190 below it. Okay. So there's a thing called concentration risk, okay, which is kind of similar to what we're seeing in the US with some of these big kind of brands such as like Facebook / Meta, Google, Amazon, all of that stuff. It's just this massive kind of, they've got market caps bigger than GDP in countries. Yeah, it's just like a massive. So there's some concentration risk that we need to manage. Now, for us, it's quite simple to deploy some simple strategies to keep up with this stuff. Okay, we're not about creating complex strategies. Yes, I've got a financial risk management degree, so I kind of know how to kind of manage these things. But we try to do simple ones so clients can walk away with a easy game plan to kind of execute on. Okay, once again, it's not about going change the world and make sure they can't commit. We want them to build simple ones that they can kind of continue to maintain. Okay. And I think the other one as well too, Jane, getting into kind of the crux of this is elevation of income is probably the one that probably people kind of underestimate all the time when I speak to people. It's like, if you had two options, your money earning, money earning more or you earning more, like as in your investments earning more or you earning more income, which one would you rather? And most people say my investment's earning more money. That's all cool, but people underestimate how much they actually earn over time. Like, just think about it. Yeah, the average household is 122,000 currently speaking in Australia. Okay, extrapolate that over I don't know, a 30-year career, with inflation and whatnot, like that's into the millions and millions of, so, we encourage our clients to try and put strategies in place that sustainably they can incrementally increase their income. And an easy one is this. So inflation is about 2.3%, 2.5% roughly on average, okay? To put it in perspective. Now, most organizations will, if the staff member is not bad, give them inflationary increases along the way, okay, to keep up with the cost of goods. But all you're really doing is still getting this paid the same. You're just keeping up with inflation, okay?
Yeah.
So what we ask our clients to do is, if you're on 100 grand, to make it easy, you go back to your employer at your next performance review and you say, what do I need to do to earn $105,000? So 5% rather than 2.5, 5%. Now, most employers that we've found out will at least give them the game plan to earn the extra 2.5 grand that they weren't going to get. And then they have a clear game plan and a roadmap of what they need to do. Now, people that are listening or watching probably go, John, that's easy. Yes, it is very easy. And that is why I'm explaining it as a simple strategy. Yeah. Doesn't have to be a complex one, but then compound that extra over time and time again. And I can assure you, because I did one about, a few weeks ago now, or even a couple of months ago, and I still remember the difference was they ended up, I think, at 82 with like 19 million bucks. And by just elevating their income at 5% rates, these 32-year-old couple was going to end up with like 30 odd $1 million. Like it literally was like $11+ million extra just by elevating their income. Like that's phenomenal. Yeah, let's talk straight.
That's huge. Huge
So deploying simple strategies is very effective, except the problem is, why do they fail? Is because people, chase shiny objects and we're instant gratification, and it's, all of the mindset and behavioral stuff that I continue to work on and encourage and educate on. And, I was looking at the Value of Advice report, Jane, I think it was last week or a week or two ago. And if people aren't familiar with it, the Russell Investments did a white paper. They do it kind of annually about the value of advice. And they compare unadvised clients versus advised clients. And to paint the picture, the advised client was about 5.2% better off in net worth with an advised client. Okay, so let's put some numbers around that. Let's say if you, after 12 years, ended up with a net worth of, say, $2 million by yourself, with an advisor is $4 million. Okay, so it's doubling every 12 years, which is pretty amazing stuff. Okay, but about 40% of that net added value of 5.2% per annum was made up by behavioral coaching. So think about it. Like it's
we're the wild card.
Yeah, it's above the shoulders. It's like chase the shiny object, the FOMO thing, the next big thing. And it's like, I was reading Warren Buffett, and he's in the news at the moment. So for people that know, just to kind of paint the picture, Warren Buffett would be the richest man on the planet as we speak in 2022. But he's donated I think $111 billion worth of money. Yeah, so that's why I think he's number 4 or something at the moment.
Yeah,
or 5.
because he's one of the
biggest donators in world history. Anyway, but where I was going with this is that a lot of people call him washed up. Yeah. Because he's just so boring. Like it's just like boring over boring. It's like boring. Like, do yourself a favor. You want to take this boring to the next level? Go have a look at Berkshire Hathaway's website. Like, it's just like boring. Like everything about this man is just boring. Yeah. But he lives a simple life. And when it comes to wealth creation, it's a very, very good philosophy. And he's drilled about, not chasing shiny objects. And that's what I'm trying to get out of this. Okay. And it's just that simple, and why I'm referring to boring and simple strategies kind of go hand in hand with one another. And
I like to call them elegant.
Yeah. I like to call them boring because a spade's a spade. Yeah. It's like we can go to the casino, throw 500 on roulette and hope to win and walk out millionaires or whatever we're going to do. The reality is most people don't do that. And we can't take chances like that with our financial future. Like I just have too much concern over my clients' well-being to go roll the dice down at the casino. You know what I mean? And they do as well. So it's just deploying simple strategies. Along the way, we can get a little bit creative, but, those creativity is based on predetermined strategies. And, that creativity usually comes about once we have certainty that financial freedom has been ticked off. Yeah. So, yeah, play with fire, you get burnt.
Even while you're on we'll talk about fire. Even while you're on the path to financial freedom, sticking to the plan to a degree within your risk profile protects you from the volatility of the market. And you shared a graphic on your socials the other day that showed that roller coaster of where the markets are at the moment, especially at this particular point in time. What did Metaverse get wiped? $500 billion
Yes,
off
2020. Yeah, it was 26% of their market cap, which is like it's ridiculous numbers. Like, it's the biggest drop. But some people will panic on that. Some people are going to be concerned about that. Once again, sticking to the plan. And when we go to create simple strategies, we talked just before around managing risks. Okay. And one of those risks is emotional risk, let's call it. It's the one where you're going to be too emotional that you sell your assets at the wrong time. Now, the reality is most people, when markets are doing really well, Jane, will participate because they think that their risk tolerance is higher than it actually is. We're weird in like forgetting about history, So, as a trained advisor and I don't know different, let's be honest, I've been doing it since I was 14 in the game. So, for me, it's a matter of, you never over risk yourself. You never put money in that you're willing to not, part with. There's a good saying that goes, or good thing that goes, the money that you put in the market, you've kind of got to have the mindset that you'll never get it back, and very simple, okay, to have that mindset, to have that said, but hard to practically do that. And we've got a visitor on Cash Talk today. My little son has just joined us for a little meeting. One moment. But yeah, simple strategies. If you're watching this, you'll see I've got a little 2-year-old joining us on Cash Talk today. But the reality is, simple strategies are sometimes hard to stick to. Okay, as much as I say they're simple. But I guess that's why, clients and the people I work with value accountability so much, Jane. That accountability to keep them to the plan. And, a lot of people already know what I'm going to say when they're frightened and they call me. It's like, John, we're a bit concerned what's going on. And it's like, stick to the plan.
Because I suppose you've been in the industry for so long, you've seen, like, I'm thinking about the big events that have happened in the financial markets. GFC.
Yeah, so Iraq War.
Yeah.
So when I started, the Iraq War was like the start one. So for me, like I was around like when the like I understood markets from a younger age. Like even though I tell people I started in the industry at 14, I was fascinated by corporate markets and by money and investing and business, even from a younger age. Okay, so. Even though we had those crashes of 2008 in the GFC, I was obviously involved in that. I was working in the industry at that point. I was working in the industry when Iraq War happened. I was familiar with the dot-com bubble, okay? And even after the dot-com bubble, there was obviously the Iraq War. And in hindsight, it doesn't seem like much. Like if you look at the Iraq War at that point in time, like on markets in a big picture, it doesn't look like much, but I can assure you when we were reading the paper and the US declares war on Iraq and are chasing down Saddam Hussein, I can assure you that markets weren't exactly going, whoo, congratulations, what's going on? People were panicking, and we are talking about the US going into, Arab territory. And if we paint the picture even more, we're also talking about, this is a couple of years later after, September 11th, where, there was this heightened kind of terrorist attacks going on. We're now entering in there. And then GFC was, mind-boggling. Like, let me, for people that haven't experienced this, let's talk about simple strategies. in the US, people were borrowing at ridiculous rates. Okay, ridiculous. Like, let's put it this way: they were leveraged to the absolute hill. To take matters even worse, the banking system allowed it to happen. So to make it very, very simple, the US banking and financial sector was well over leveraged, okay, and they didn't have the measures to protect themselves. And so when the financial institutions came down in the US, Lehman Brothers was the biggest name. The ricochets that sent the world was ridiculous. Now, to tell people how ridiculous this is and how devastating, if you invested your money in October 2007, roughly, which was the height, or even October 8, okay, you wouldn't have made your money back, or you wouldn't have got back to parity until 2019.
Oh.
So when you talk about like simple strategies and risks and whatnot, remember that thing I just said before you asked me that question was, only put in what you're willing kind of not to get back. Yeah. There's reasons why. Yeah. Simple, but very, very effective. Okay. And that's where you get at the moment, this kind of over participation. I hear on social media a lot and see a lot of unfortunate situations where people are overexposing themselves. A common one, Jane, which is very simple, is, people I hear and see, unfortunately, because I'm the one that comes in and fixes it at the end when everything's come crashing down. They put their house deposits into the stock market, for example. They want to buy a house in 12 months' time. They put their deposits into the stock market. Stock market crashes. Let's call it GFC. You're down 50%. Well, that house you wanted to buy, see you later, kumbaya. You're not getting that for a few years from now, So simple strategies, very effective. But once again, people chasing shiny objects.
Now, we've touched on this earlier, and I just wanted to bring you back before we wrap up. There's a sort of obsession at the moment in the finance world, especially on social, with the FIRE movement, where you're obsessively paying down debt. Now, that to me, and obviously to you as a financial advisor, because this is your jam, has benefits and risks. So do you want to just, I know your audience is probably something they've come across, it's probably something they're interested in. So do you want to just enlighten us about that, please? The FIRE movement.
So it's actually interesting. So the FIRE movement, for people that don't know, is financially independence, retire early. Okay. Now, when we talk about financial independence, retire early, every time when I go to look at hear this or see this, there's this fascination about like living very frugal. Yeah. And like smashing down your debt as quickly as possible. And that's cool. And I'm an inherent saver, for people that know. Like, my mindset was like literally, dig up the money, stash it under the lemon tree. Yeah, that's where I come from. Two things. One, I don't want to live life that way. Okay. I want to enjoy life. I'm of the belief I only get one crack at it. Yeah. So I'm going to enjoy my money a little bit. Okay. So my financial independence, retire early, is actually based on income focus. Okay. With a baseline for me to live and enjoy my life. Okay. So let's get that straight. So it's not frugal. Okay. Definitely not what my mother thinks. My mother thinks that I blow way too much money. Okay. But let's not talk about that. But the other one as well too, if you're so focused on debt repayment, okay, let's just paint the picture to just make it really simple. Currently, as we're speaking in Australia, home loan rates for an owner-occupied property are in the low 2s, okay, on average, okay? So let's use 2% as a guide just to make it easy. If you've got 2%,
I'm not good at math.
Yeah, if you got 2%, okay, and just to paint the picture, I just was researching it the other day. This is not advice, please. I'm just using it for comparison reasons. AGL's dividends was about 6.5%, okay?
Oof.
So think about it. So when we're talking about these simple strategies in these levers, we've got one that we have to pay 2%, okay, with our after-tax money, okay? Or we potentially a simple strategy, just to throw it out there. Once again, not advice. Please go seek personal financial advice. Let's say we salary sacrificed a certain amount into super. So it's coming in pre-tax salary, okay? And we happen to buy AGL shares, okay? Once again, don't do that. Not personal advice, okay? Don't act on that. But all you've done is now you've created a before-tax environment that's taxed at 15%, maybe not at 40 and 45% or at 30-odd%. And you're also picking up a company that's got 3 times the amount or 3+ times the amount of what you've been paying. Like, this is very important. Very simple. I've just explained it in about 3 seconds, yeah? But the reality is that incrementally over years and years and years and years and years is going to add up. If you just spend time just smashing down the investments smashing down the debt before you invest, for example, what do we say at the start? It's about time in the market.
Time in the market, compound interest.
So that
two
over
time, magical things of investing.
Yeah. Actually, remember, of life, it's love and compound interest, all right? So the eighth wonder of the world, we call it. The eighth wonder of the world, okay? But the reality is that you need to have a combination of all, okay? And I have seen a lot on social media, a lot of people investing and paying down their debts, okay? What happens is, Jane, is that we need to just always make sure that we've got a strategic plan, okay? And those 2 levers about what you put into investments and put in your debts are structured in a way to create the highest probability of you achieving your goals, okay?
Yeah.
It should be like, financially independent, retire early, okay? ... but live life along the way, okay? And that's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Have fun while you're doing it, or you just have to look at the people that unfortunately, either died early and didn't enjoy their life. And, maybe I'm also a bit of a changed man since I had my spinal surgery and, and the experiences I've had in life. When my son was born, the umbilical cord was wrapped around his head. Yeah. And he didn't breathe for 12 minutes. And so, I'm there. About 12 minutes felt like 12 days. Yeah. In all honesty. But you sometimes value other things than just, being debt-free or having, bucket loads of money in your account. And I think as a financial advisor, I have become better in understanding to smell the roses and appreciate milestones and actually appreciate other things. And I think that a lot of the success stories with my clients is us being able to buy time, okay? And those precious moments, we're able to stop and, I don't know, see your son walk for the first time, yeah? And have the time to do that, yeah? Just little things, yeah? It's those little things that we're trying to create, okay? Not rich little leprechauns, as I call them, yeah?
All right. Thank you, John.
That's all right.
Rich little leprechauns in my head.
That's all right. That's all right. We want to create rich little happy leprechauns. The reality is simple strategies are very effective, everyone. It's just a matter of which ones are right for you and then aligning it to the big picture, okay? And this is where it all comes in. And on the last episodes around mindset is very important. Road mapping is very important. And simple strategies as well is very important. But just try to kind of think about it if you're trying to wrap your head around this. Just like think about that diet that I was talking about and how that's kind of applicable here. You can kind of go as frugal as you can be, save as much as you can, not buy anything. But how sustainable is that? Like long-term, how sustainable it is. And it's the sustainability that is going to smash these things out the park. And for the employers out there, I apologize if all the listeners and the viewers are now going to start hitting everyone up for pay rises. But very effective to elevate your income as well too. All right.
Yeah. Awesome.
Thanks, Jane. And look to having all of you listen again and watch again on another episode of Cash Talks. But thank you very much. Cheers.
Thanks, John.